Welcome back to Couture Construction. I'm your host, Andrew Denny, and you're listening to Season 11, The Art of Storytelling in Design. Every design has a narrative, from the spark of inspiration to the final reveal. This season, we're exploring how stories shape spaces, connect people, and leave a lasting impact. Through candid conversations with designers, architects, editors, and creatives, we uncover how personal histories, cultural influences, and client journeys can be woven into a home's DNA. In today's episode, we're zooming out to look at the bigger story of design today, the boom. From heightened client expectations to increasingly design-savvy homeowners, the last few years have transformed how designers work, how clients dream, and how our industry defines success. But with growth comes new challenges, from pace and pressure to the need for authentic storytelling that cuts through the noise. Joining us today is Sara Hillery, principal of Sara Hillery Interior Design, a full-service design firm based in Richmond, Virginia, with projects spanning the Southeast and Texas. Named one of House Beautiful's next wave designers and featured in Veranda, Southern Home, The Wall Street Journal, and Southern Living. Sara brings a deeply personal, story-driven approach to her work, merging refined craftsmanship with clients' heritage, values, and lived experience. Sara believes design is the art of storytelling, and today she's here to share how the industry's boom has reshaped that art for a new generation of designers and clients alike. So, Sara, welcome. Thank you so much for joining us. Before we jump into topics, share with us just a little bit about who you are as a person outside of design.
Sure. Well, thanks for having me to begin with. This is exciting. As a person, I wear multiple hats. I'm a mother of three. I grew up here in Richmond. I lived in Houston for a while and kind of got some background in design there before coming back, and been here for the last 10 years. And I love what I do. I love uh, this city and its richness and culture and story making as we talk about the art of storytelling. Um, and, I think I've got a great team that helps me pull this together as a whole and allow me to do what I love to do.
How old are your kiddos?
My oldest is 14, so we're in 8th grade. We will venture into high school next year, and then I have 2 boys, one in middle school and one in elementary. So
Well, you've
um,
got your hands full.
they keep me busy. Schedules today are not the schedules I grew up with.
No,
So juggling it all is an art form.
tell me about it. We had one of ours in tears this morning because I made the executive decision at 6:15 a.m. that we were going to have them get a little bit of extra sleep, so they missed Music Makers, which is a big deal. And thought, well, they had a performance last week, and it's the week before Thanksgiving. Oh goodness, it was not the right decision, come to find out. So, but yeah, these days it's insane. They start at, they're 12, 14-hour days some days with their schedule. And good news is kids love it. And but boy, it's not what I had as a kid.
Yes. Yes, it's changing. I mean, everything in life is evolving, right? So we're
That's
just
right.
along for the ride.
That's right. So that's a great segue, because that's what we're talking a little bit about here is the design boom. So you've seen shifting markets. You've got a firm that's a decade old. What do you think has sparked the new wave of interest in interior design?
Um, I think a couple of things. I feel like we've had the perfect storm in the last few years. I think the rise of social media, especially Instagram and Pinterest, were kind of the kickoff. Um, and because everybody kept in touch with Facebook, which was it was still pictures, but it was more commentary. Whereas Pinterest and Instagram are so visual, right? It's photography, and there are additional things that it too has evolved. But initially, it was image, 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 and so I think being able to search pictures of any style with a few prompts kind of changed how people have access to things. And then couple that with the pandemic for us in the residential world, you had everybody at home in their house dreaming about how they can change it, looking at that wall that they never really noticed before, or that room that was um, you know was the living room and nobody thought about it. Now it maybe their makeshift office, and they were just brainstorming and ideating. And I think it created this love of interiors. And I think as they started to see things change, it's only grown. I thought at some point there would be a backlash, but it hasn't. I think it has been propelled forward, and I'm constantly amazed that there's this abundance of people interested in what we do, and clients who are still motivated. I thought it for a while we were so busy during the pandemic. I was like, we're going to have a dry spell, but that really hasn't happened.
Yeah, no, it has been fast and furious ever since that happened. And, I think your point about social media and the influence and how we experience these beautiful spaces, it's so proliferated. Everybody has an experience with them. And I often talk about just our day to day, lived experience. Going to a gas station now as compared to 25 years ago. I mean, you walk into these gleaming, beautiful spaces that are modern and well thought out and have a flow, and it's from that all the way up to experiential, whether it be hotels or really anything that we encounter especially that's new, has a design element to it. And of course, we can go back to the heritage of the past where there was beautiful design elements that are still being carried through to today. Uh, with that said, you mentioned something interesting, that it was pictures. Now we're seeing a lot of video. How do you think video is going to impact this boom and renaissance, so to speak, with design?
I think it's adding another dimension, right? Especially, my kids are asking for, the Oculus for Christmas, and I'm thinking to myself, I don't want you living in a like make believe world. I want you here. But I think the world is pushing those boundaries. And I think video is like the gateway drug to this 3D, AI environment. Um, but it also allows you to not just see a still image. It allows you to, when you walk into a space, we don't experience our environment the same way a video camera does, but it does. But a video camera can pan and move and look up and look down, so that you're not just seeing a flat image, and so you're getting a better sense of what that surround feels like. And so I think it's just adding another dimension to the education of the viewer.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. And it's almost like it's a delineation between a moment in time, an exact moment in time, and then a brief experiential moment in time. So I do think it helps. I think it helps. The one thing that I think may be helpful in our industry is I've yet to see mood boards with pinned videos on them. So that's that's good, but that may be coming.
I haven't done that yet, but that's a good thought.
So with this abundance of information, what is somebody like you, an interior designer, how are you making these projects distinct? It's there's obviously a fine line between taking inspiration and understanding likes and dislikes, but how do you keep it distinct and personal? And one thing I love about your past is that drawing out the lived experience of your client to really create a design. Share with us a little bit on how that process works.
Yeah, sure. So, gosh, if First and foremost, I have like an aversion to to doing anything that looks like something I've already seen. I think I'm conditioned to always want to try something different and make tweaks to it. I think
Hmm.
that's the creator in me. Um, but I think more than that, for our clients, you, if I design it something that looks like something off a photo or something we've seen before, it's not their house, right? It's a house, but it's not their. Maybe home is a good word. It's not their home, and so we start and we have a questionnaire and we ask all kinds of questions. But what do you collect? What do you? How is this house going to make you feel? Um, how is this space going to function? What are your hobbies? What are your likes? What's the thing that you always wanted to do and never had time for that we can try to encourage through the environment? And I think by asking all those questions that are specific to the client, it starts to make this house unique from the neighbor or anything else you've seen. And I think that's the way to differentiate, in this prolific globalization that we're seeing.
Yeah, I think that what's interesting, even though there is that massive proliferation, there is still so much distinction amongst these spaces
Yeah.
and stories. So that's a beautiful thing. You don't often see uh, like copycat. You see trends within these pictures, and I think that's okay. But it's and that's, look, we see trends in every aspect of our life, but you really do get to see a lot of originality, which is really fun. So share with me, I know you just mentioned you have the questionnaire. Getting to know your clients is really important. uh Outside of that, like really understanding their story,
Mhm.
how do you take that a step further, and digest that? And are there certain uh, examples that you could even cite where maybe the questionnaire is idealism, right?
Yeah.
But then there's a layer beyond that that's like, you know what? I think this is going to be more authentic. Uh, I'd love for you just to share on that.
Sure. So I'll give you an example of just a conversation I was having with a client last week. And we were sitting in their house. This house is an existing house and it lacks a lot of character and it seems like it's an afterthought, and that's kind of its story. But I kept asking them, I was like, how do we tell the story of the house and its place since you didn't build it? Like, how do we give the story of where it is and how you come into play here and have it all connect and flow and have its quirks? It doesn't mean that exterior and interior need to look exactly alike, but there needs to be a thread so that you can kind of pick up on where it started and where it is today. And so then we start digging, right? What do you like? Where do you like to travel? If this house, um, let's say that the house was it was a, um, like a property manager's house on a
Hmm.
bigger lot at one point, and it's been added on to as it's no longer it's in a city and no longer in a rural location. Um, and so we were talking about how do we keep the quirks and the charm and make it not feel like new construction so that it's still weird, but reflective of her history, which she's part French, and she grew up over there, so we're bringing that influence in, um, and I think all of that comes into making it just such a rich environment when it's all done. You start adding those unexpected elements that maybe, okay, this isn't like just a colonial
Hmm.
Richmond house. You start bringing in some worldly influence and patterns and color. They love antiques, which is wonderful. They're bringing antiques. And all of that tells the story.
Oh, I love that. And I love how your perspective was where it was and where it is now, and to have that thread. I think that's so fun. And of course, it doesn't hurt to have somebody from France. That's a good one right there.
Right.
That's a lot of fun. So, do you find those conversations in talking about tradition and heritage and do those surprise your clients? Like, are they surprised when you start, going there, as opposed to, I think for a lot of people that haven't walked through this process, it's let's open some catalogs and pick things that would look nice, and that's it. But there's so much more to it. Are your clients surprised when you go that deep?
I warn them. And I do warn them, at the onset that there has to be, I call it speed dating for design. I'm like, when I meet you, if I haven't known you my whole life, I've got to get to know you. I'm working in your most intimate environment. And if I don't have all of that background, then I can't make a home that is, truly for you.
Hmm.
Some people receive that well and they want to tell me everything, and that's wonderful and great. And the more I have, the better equipped I am to design for you. Some people want to say, but I just want you to do a great job and have it look good. And they don't love the questions. So a lot of times I'll condition them with that questionnaire that is really long. It is 30 pages, it's not
Wow.
short. And tell them, I warn them it takes time. I encourage you and whoever else is involved in this design process, if they're of drinking age, go have a glass of wine, make it a date night, and talk about all your wants, wishes, and dreams for this space. I said, because the more I know, as I said, the better it will be for you. And so I tell them that, and I've had to hound people like sometimes for a couple of weeks to get it back to me, but I don't. I require that in order to start the next steps.
Yeah, yeah. Well, that makes total sense, because without that, I mean, you might as well just be, designing a model home for a builder. I mean, it's got
Yes.
to have the authenticity. That's really where the spark happens.
Yes.
So, how do you convey? Um, let's say and obviously you've been featured in some really great world-class publications. What do you hope your design conveys at the end of the process?
I hope it conveys the client. It isn't about me. I think if I made repeated my house 100 times, it would be very boring. I want I my goal at the end of every project is for the client to come in and go, "Wow, this is more than I thought it could be. I love it so much," and to feel like they're walking through and finding discoveries that are meaningful and sentimental to them. Because I ask for collections and things, and I'll take them, and they don't always know exactly where they're going to be, and how I utilize them. So it makes it fun. It's like it's that experience that we were talking about earlier.
It's all about the experience. As we step into a new year, let's talk about what's coming. And I'll give you a little background from my perspective. And we've already talked about it a little bit, but it is experiential. And from the research we're doing as a vendor, it really does seem that the home it should be traditionally, it's that shelter, it's that place of safety, it's where we have family, etc. But increasingly, we're seeing the need for experiential living. So in addition to the shelter, it feels like a retreat, and an escape to where people can really, really disconnect. Uh, First off, are you seeing that trend? And if so, maybe share a little bit about why you think that is happening and what you see as being next in that evolution.
In terms of like the experiential and the escape, I think sometimes a house might be committed to a feeling, or sometimes the room is very specialized for a particular member of the family in order to um, give them their escape and their way to recharge. And I think, you know, there is there's a certain amount of creativity that comes with that, and trying to figure out how to recreate something. Sometimes clients will ask for something, that's so big on one scale, and this room might be, this little jewel box. And so you have to break it down and say, what are the essence of where you love to be that we could bring home and recreate for you. For instance, I had a client who loved Turks and Caicos,
Mm.
and they loved color, and they were bold, and they were just the most lovely people. And she showed me a picture from their trip, and I was like, let's paint the hallway wall to look like the waves in the ocean. And it's
That's awesome.
wild, and it's cool, and it's not a literal representation, it is an abstract representation. But we have, a grass rug, and we have um, all those clear blues up and down the wall. And it's just so exciting. And I think it might be one of the most favorite things in her whole house. And it's just a hallway, so that when you walk through, you get that reminder of the experience.
Yeah, that exhale.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, that is so awesome. That is very, very cool. So, in Virginia, obviously, you all are really some of the most rich history in our country. Share a little bit just about how that tradition impacts what you're doing, because obviously, I mean, we've got some of the finest architecture ever. Really kind of a cradle for architecture in America there. So share how that's impacted your firm and your theory.
Sure. Well, we always pay homage, right, to anything that is got history to it in terms of architecture or location. I've worked on a couple homes that are on the Historic National Register,
Hmm.
and no matter what decisions we're making, I always try to make decisions on materials that aren't easily changed, that could have been authentic
Hmm.
and available at the period that the house is kind of coming from. I worked on, I believe it was an 1816 farmhouse, a
Wow.
schoolhouse that had
Ah,
been added on to, and now it's now a horse farm.
oh,
Um, and there was talk of like changing the fireplace, and we had workmen underneath, and they were like, do you know this house is held up by stones?
wow.
Like, not no piers, just like a pile of stones that were probably foraged from the land and put together
Ah,
to hold the original structure and fireplace. And so we kept the fireplace intact. And I said, this is the charm, and this is the story. And ceilings were high in some places and really low in others, as like exterior spaces were added onto and enclosed. Um, so in that way, we're keeping the history of where they are, but then maybe the color choices are uniquely theirs and how they want it to feel. Um, Artwork, things that are easily moved and changed over time are the more flexible, more modern things, but the architecture remains the same. And then I did another house where we were adding on and renovating the house, and we kept the old house intact and very traditional. And I worked with a great architect here in town, and designed an edition that was contemporary, so you could tell that this was the old and this is the new, and so it starts that conversation of where it was and where it's going, um, and so we addressed it that way. Um, so the molding changed, the ceiling heights changed, the window styles changed, all those things.
Oh, that is so cool. I would love to see that. That's a great one.
Yeah, I didn't photograph that one, but it's on my list. I have a lot.
Yeah.
I'm a little behind in my photography.
Oh, trust me, we all are. We all
But
are.
if you come visit, I'll show you. How about
Yeah, no,
that?
that is so neat. Uh, what just in general, again, you're in an area that really promotes architecture and has uh that rich history. What are you seeing from the next generation? Are you seeing a lot of up and coming talent and people entering the industry?
Well, I think the world has you have two schools of thought, and then you've got the gray area in the middle, right? You've got some very traditional kind of loyalist in architecture here in Richmond and in Virginia in general, who love, the moldings and they want to bring back the ornamentation. I think the challenge is the cost of all of that today is so
Mm-hmm,
expensive. Not
mm-hmm.
everybody can do it. And then you have in an area that is largely colonial architecture, you have the movers and the shakers who want to mix it up a little bit, bring some mid-century glass structures here. And they do look a little out of place. I totally respect them, but it's not very historical Virginia.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Um, but they're fun and they're really neat and they take advantage of like the James River. You see a lot of
Oh
them along
yeah.
James River so that they can maximize those views. Um, so I think it's going two ways. I do see, there was a couple of years ago, you saw a big push here locally where you saw a lot of color, a lot of pattern, kind of that rise of the grand millennial, but in a brighter approach, maybe a slightly southern flair on the color
Mm-hmm.
choices. Um, because they're still trying to honor the architecture, as you say, but show their uniqueness, right, and
Mm-hmm.
who they are. Like maybe I like really bright teal, um, and want to blow it out with some high gloss or something, but the front is still brick and traditional.
The old business in the front, party in the back.
Kinda, yeah, and you really I mean, for a while, I was like, "Man," and I think it's sort of leveled out now. I think that and maybe that was a trend locally, but I feel like that's evening out a little bit.
Well, and I think you bring up a very interesting point with obviously we all want to honor the past, but to your earlier point, it's all about who we're doing this for. So obviously there's good fits and the alternative, not great fits, but it is ultimately if somebody wants a contemporary home, if that's a reflection of who they are, then it's a success regardless of where it is. Um, and I think that's some good advice to remember. So as we shift into our just our final topic, I want to segue to uh, what advice would you have for up and comers within the industry? Looking back at your experience and your story, what are some things if you could go back and start it all over? Obviously, with today's parameters, what would you do differently within our industry? And maybe some of your advice can provide a little bit of a head start.
Um, as a business owner, I would have taken some business classes.
Mm-hmm.
I think, a lot of people in my industry do it because they love it, and they go
Mm-hmm.
out on their own, and we dream about our own projects and freedom to do as we dream up. And there's this whole other side to running a business. So first and foremost, learn what you're getting into. Although, maybe you would never do it if you knew everything, right?
That's right.
Um,
Yeah, yeah. May
but
never.
admittedly, this 2026 will be my 15th year of being in business for
That's
myself,
awesome.
and
Congrats.
I hired a fractional COO, like, business coach, a couple years ago who's still with me today, and it was probably the best thing I've done because it's like getting that business education
Hmm.
consistently. Um, versus always trial and error. And there's so much in design, on a creative end, on the business side, that's trial and error anyway. But if you can make some educated decisions
Hmm.
and learn from others and how other businesses, even if they're not the same, run, it really can help you, and it can put some processes in place to build a team and grow.
Yeah, I think that's very, very strong advice, and I would echo that. It's amazing looking back, and this, if I had to sum it up on my end, the ability to say no when you first start, that is something I would highly recommend anybody in our field do, because you find yourself saying yes, 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 and without the process behind it, it's really hard if you don't know how to execute it, and b, you end up losing a lot of money.
Yes.
And yeah, that's that. You said trial and error. Sadly, a lot of times it ends up in error.
I heard there's like, no bad mistakes as long as you learn from them. you know, some might be more painful than
That's
others, but
right. Yeah. Yeah. They're not bad, but they are painful.
yeah.
And they cause sleepless nights. So that's great. Well, I love that feedback. So we're going to move on to rapid fire. This has been a great
Okay.
conversation. I have so enjoyed hearing your perspective. But now we move to rapid fire. What's your go-to comfort meal?
Well, right now the weather's dropping, so it's definitely soup. Homemade
Uh,
chicken noodle soup that's like straight off the box of Swanson chicken broth.
Hey,
I'm a
that's
simple
perfect.
person at heart. You probably can see that in some of my designs. Like sometimes simple is best.
Simple is really is best a lot of times. Holiday decor style, minimalist neutrals or maximum festive?
Maximum festive. It's all about the experience. Bring it on. It's for 1 month of the year. I feel like go all out, enjoy it, and then you can take it all away and breathe again if it's too much for you.
No, I totally agree, and I have to share this season, it creates a little bit of a dilemma with how late Thanksgiving is. So it is, we have limited days to really enjoy it. So my wife and I have had a little bit of a disagreement on, I think we're going to set up this upcoming weekend, and we're going to be a little bit ahead of the game, where we would always do it right after Thanksgiving. The calendar has left us no choice. So
I
uh,
I'm gonna support you in that. For years, I was a traditionalist because I love Thanksgiving. I
oh
love the
yeah.
simplicity of it and the low stress environment. However, I think as our lives are busier and our kids, schedules take over,
Yeah, yeah.
there's less and less free time to do it all at once. And so it's about stretching it out, making it manageable, and being able to enjoy it. So whatever works for you is usually the right answer.
It's so funny because our home right now, they installed. I have a friend that does exterior Christmas lighting, and
Yeah,
that's all been installed, including the wreaths on the windows,
I love it.
the greenery, everything. And we have mums and a fall wreath, and still have the pumpkins on the front porch. So our poor house doesn't know what's going on.
You know what? You're
Uh,
just embracing all of the
that's right.
holidays.
That's right. Yeah, it's the kids love it. So, what one word best describes your mindset going into 26?
Actually grateful as we're talking about
Mm,
all the holidays. I feel so blessed that I have such amazing clients who continue to let me do what I love. I have a family that supports me in this crazy venture of mine and all of the requirements and time that it takes. And then I have a great team. There is no such thing as a one man band. It does take everyone. Um, and I think if you're not grateful for that, and then you maybe aren't in the right business.
Yeah. No, we have a lot to be grateful for. I think that's a great word to go into 26 with. So that's wonderful. Well, Sara, thank you so much for joining us and sharing your insight on where the design industry is headed and how storytelling continues to ground it all. Your perspective is a reminder that even in the midst of a boom, the heart of design will always be connection to history, to craft, and to the people we design for. This is our final episode of 2025, and from all of us at Couture Construction, we wish you a joyful and restorative holiday season. We'll be back in the new year with episode 145, featuring Laura Lubin of Ellerslie Interiors, kicking off 2026 with a conversation on designing with intention and creating stories that hold both beauty and value.